Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Let me begin with the promise most of us were taught to trust. Well, work hard, study hard, and you will succeed. This promise sits at the heart of modern education systems around the world. It is the moral foundation of exams, grades, rankings, and scholarships. We call this promise meritocracy. So, the idea that educational success reflects talent and effort and therefore is fair. But tonight in this video, I want to challenge a deeply uncomfortable question to you. What if education is not nearly as meritocratic as we believe? And more importantly, what if believing too strongly in meritocracy actually makes education less just? So, as in part one, the term the term meritocracy, meritocracy, meritocracy was popularized by sociologist Michael Young originally as a critic, not a celebration. Meritocracy claims three things. The first one, talent is evenly distributed. The second one, effort determines success. Third one, educational outcomes fairly reflect merit. In theory, this sounds ethical, even inspiring. Who wouldn't want a system where background doesn't matter and ability to shine wherever you are or wherever you go? But real education systems do not operate in a vacuum. They operate in societies structured by inequality. Now, as in part two, let us consider a simple question. Do students begin education at the same starting point? Research consistently says no. Students differ dramatically in family income, parental education, language exposure, nutrition, access to books and technology, stability, and safety. By the time children enter formal schooling, achievement gaps already exist. Educational sociologist Pierre Bourdieu described this as cultural capital. I'm going to write, I'm going to put, I'm going to spell his name for you. You can, if you want, you can search his name, Pereurdieu. And what he says was the invisible knowledge, language, and dispositions that schools implicitly reward. Schools often mistake familiarity with dominant culture for intelligence. Merit appears neutral, but it is often socially coded. Now, as in part three, education is often portrayed as a ladder for social mobility. But sociological evidence shows it also functions as a sorting mechanism. Elite schools concentrate resources, high stakes exams filter assessed, prestige reproduces itself. The sociologist Samuel Bowles and his colleagues argue that schools often reproduce existing social hierarchies rather than, disrupt them. Students who succeed are told it is because they deserve it. Students who struggle are told they do not try hard enough. This framing hides structural inequality behind moral language. Now, as in part four, meritocracy does not only shape systems, it shapes minds. Psychological research shows that when people believe success is entirely earned, they are more likely to blame individuals for failure, ignore structural barriers, justify inequality as fear, But there's a hidden cost on high achievers as well. Sociologist Alan Ehrenbach describes how meritocratic pressure contributes to anxiety, burnout, and fear of failure. If success proves your worth, failure threatens your identity. Meritocracy turns education into a moral judgment. Now, as in part 5, let us be clear. Effort matters. Talent matters. Hard work changes outcomes, but effort does not operate independently of context. Well, to give you an example, two students can work equally hard and receive very different results due to school quality, teacher expectations, language of instruction, and assessment bias, and social networks. Meritocracy oversimplifies causality. It reduces complex systems into individual responsibility. This is not fairness, it is abstraction. Now, this part, I have lectured this part in my previous video, and standardized testing is often defended as objective. But tests measure more than ability. They measure familiarity with test formats, language proficiency, cultural assumptions, test taking strategies. So, research from institutions such as Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development consistently shows that socioeconomic background strongly predicts educational outcomes, even in high performing systems. Tests may be standardized, opportunity is not. Now, in the next part 7, why does the myth persist? Because meritocracy serves as an important function. It legitimizes inequality. If success is earned, then unequal outcomes appear justified. This allows societies to celebrate excellence without addressing assessed. It shifts attention away from funding inequities, teacher distribution, early childhood investment, structural reform. Meritocracy offers a comforting story, but comfort is not justice. Now, in part 8, if education is not fully meritocratic, what should replace the ideal? Not the abandonment of standards, but a more honest framework, one that recognizes unequal starting points, structural constraints, the difference between potential and performance. Fairness does not mean treating everyone the same. It means providing what different learners need to thrive. Equity is not favoritism, it is corrective justice. Now, in part number 9, a more just system would invest heavily in early childhood education, support teachers working with high need populations, value multiple forms of excellence, use assessment diagnostically, not punitively, separate human worth from academic ranking. Education should expand capability, not merely certify status. Learning should be about growth, not sorting. So, what type of story are we going to tell to the world and to the next generation? Let me end with this. Meritocracy feels fair because it flatters our sense of control. But when we mistake privilege for merit, we reproduce inequality while calling it justice. The real danger of the myth of meritocracy is not that it values effort, but it ignores context. Education is not a race with a single starting line. It is a journey shaped by history, structure, and opportunity. If we truly believe in human potential, we must design systems that develop it, not merely systems that ranked it. The future of education depends not on pretending the system is fair, but on having the courage to make it fair, right? So, thank you for listening to my public short lecture. And I see you in my next video. And I hope you learned something out of my video. And if this something speaks to you, like it, share it, and subscribe my channel. And I'll see you in my next lecture. And have a lovely day. Have a lovely night to all of you. Goodbye.